Am I live? I look like I'm live. All right, hello. Don't know how much of my dancing was on before I got to say hello. Good afternoon, everybody. I am now doing a morning live and an evening live. If you don't know who I am, my name is Debbie Carberry. I'm a relationship coach based in Australia, and I help women all over the world with pretty much anything to do with any kind of relationship. The relationship they have with themselves, the relationship oftentimes as a relationship is coming to an end with their ex-partner. I deal with relationships with kids, family members, bosses, all sorts of stuff. My YouTube channel really helps women who are coming out of long-term relationships, who are looking to find some strong footing because they're feeling really lost and distressed. Usually because their long-term relationship ended abruptly and they weren't prepared for it. So if you can hear me and see me, do say hello to me in the chat. So what we do on Thursdays is I answer your questions. So I come live in the morning of one week and in the evening of the next week, my time, so that people at different parts of the world can come and ask me questions. You might have seen my Heartbreak to Healing series. You might have seen my Affairs series. And if you have, and you have questions about those, this is where you can come and ask me questions. Hey there, Kathy. Nice to see you, love. So what are we going to talk about today? I guess today, I've been doing a lot of work on YouTube. Today, talking about the things that come up for many of the women that I talk to. And one of the big things that women talk to me about is when the relationship ends, there is such a sense of not only the relationship is over, but there's also, now I have this situation where maybe I'm a single parent, maybe I've got financially there are difficulties going on. But for a lot of women too, there's this midlife thing going on where they may have their kids leaving home and they believe that this was the very next chapter that was going to be fun and good and they were going to enjoy the future with their partner. And now, as they look ahead, they're like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. And for a lot of women in that position, relationship ending, kids getting older, looking towards the future, a lot of women are scared. They're like, I don't know who I am. I might have spent the last 10 or 20 or more years of my life, supporting my partner, supporting my children, supporting my parents. Maybe I had a job and I've been working really hard. And now that all of that gets swept away, now who am I? And if you felt like this, ladies, let me know in the comments. And if you have a question about anything, pop that into the comments. But I think for a lot of women, it's kind of like, well, who am I now? Who am I now when I'm not your wife or your mum or your daughter or your sister, or right in this very moment, I'm this new person who is a single. What does all of that mean? And for so many women, it is a really frightening space. Women say to me, I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am anymore. And I don't know who I'm supposed to be anymore. I'm really confused about who I am in this moment in my life. So if you felt like that, let me know in the comments. Like I said, if you've got a question for me, because I can see some of you are watching, please just go right ahead and ask me questions. I'm glad to see some of my friends from the UK are here. And thank you for coming, ladies. I do know that my early morning Q&A session really doesn't reach you. So doing it at this time of day. And if you want to let me know which country you're from, that's really helpful as I try and get the timing of these kind of set up. So when women ask me about, my identity's changed, who the heck am I? And I guess, when relationships end, it can be an opportunity. It can be an opportunity for sticking a stake in the ground and going, okay, well, who the hell am I then? What is important to me? What do I want? What do I need? What have I sacrificed for so many years that now maybe I won't? Maybe now I'm going to put my foot down and go, actually, I do matter. And what I want and need really is important. And if I don't know what I want and need, how am I going to find out what I want and need? How am I going to find out what's important? How am I going to find my way? Another thing, of course, is the loneliness around this new phase where women say, I a lot of my friends are married. My friends are a bit uncomfortable with what's going on and they don't want to take sides. And so, I need to begin a new circle of friends. And that can feel really intimidating in midlife. Like if you have been part of your, your children's parents group or your partner's business group or, your extended family members, then who am I now when I'm not doing that? And what do I do now? I know a lot of women feel really uncomfortable with going out on their own, going out and have a coffee, go to a movie, going to see a show, and they don't want to do by themselves. Although some of my members, I have membership, and some of my members absolutely do amazing things on their own. I had one of my members just recently went off to Thailand by herself. She was a bit anxious before she set off, but she had an absolutely fantastic time. Another one of my members went on a really beautiful train trip in Australia. Australia's a really big country. And she said, I wanted to go so bad and I had nobody to go with. And I thought, you know what, I want to go, so I'm going to go. And she did, and she loved it. So I think, again, it's really important when you move through those situations to start thinking about, what am I going to do, and maybe not put barriers in the way of doing the things that are really important to you. All right, so there's a few ladies there. Hello, girls. There's an American lady here because I see her name. I know you're absolutely English and you're absolutely Australian. I know because I know your names. I won't say your names because, privacy and all the rest of it, but you know who you are. All right, first question. How do I keep my boundaries so I feel respected while no longer accepting breadcrumbs? So boundaries are really interesting. And, I talk about internal and external boundaries. So an internal boundary is a boundary I hold for myself. So if I say to myself, I won't allow if my partner has an affair, then I will leave my partner. That might be an internal boundary that I have. So if my partner then had an affair, I would stick to the boundary and say, right, I feel really sad, but you knew my boundary on this, that if you were to do this, I would leave. And then I would leave, because that is an internal boundary I've set with myself. External boundaries can be different to that. I mean, that could be an external boundary too. If you have an affair, our relationship is over, and we say that to our partner. But we can have external boundaries around the way people talk to us, respect issues. I know for some women, things like social media profiles, for example. If a partner is on social media and quite active on social media, and they find they're friending women who there's a bit flirtatious with, they're a bit it makes the women uncomfortable, then the boundaries can be set at, hey, here's the thing, if you're going to go online and you're going to flirt with other women, that is going to jeopardize our relationship, because I will feel like I can't trust you. And we're not doing that to treat people badly or to give them ultimatums. We're saying this is to protect me. This is because I care about myself enough that I am going to take care of myself. And to do that, I have to set boundaries up that say, if you're connecting with new women online with the intention of flirting with them or chatting with them or getting information from them, that doesn't feel comfortable to me. And if you do that and we can't have a discussion about it and come to a conclusion about it that we're both happy with, then I will have to consider what I'm going to do next. And it's not about being mean to somebody else, but it is about loving yourself enough. You say accepting breadcrumbs. I think sometimes we accept less than we deserve because we feel like we deserve less. We feel like, at least they're dating me, at least they call me, at least they're still staying with me, even if, they're not perfect or ideal. It's better than nobody being with me. And so we can set our standards incredibly low just to have somebody there. I get being frightened of being alone. I understand that it's scary. But at the same time, the loneliness you can feel in a relationship where somebody is not with you or is just giving you breadcrumbs, that can be quite painful too. So I think it's just really important to set the boundaries internally, what you're willing to accept yourself, and the boundaries with other people, knowing that you're doing that because you love and care about yourself. If you struggle to do it, which a lot of people do, then learning how to do it. And I think this is odd in our culture, right? We learn about so many things. Learn how to drive a car. I was in an EV today. Terrified the hell out of me. It goes too fast. There's too many screens. It scared me. But I like the clean energy of an EV. So with my discomfort, I went and sat in it and felt it. And I didn't drive it, not yet, but I might. But I think sometimes when we're scared about things, like with boundaries, when we set them, it's scary. It feels hard. And if you don't know how to, you learn. And, I said, if we bought this car, I would have to go to the local supermarket car park and drive around in the car park, getting comfortable and not before I went on the busy roads, learning how to start and stop it and what it if it took control or anything else. And all the things I'd have to learn. But I think in our culture, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about, well, you need to learn how to communicate properly, and you need to learn how to love yourself, and you need to learn how to set boundaries and maintain them, and you need to learn what you want and what you need and being able to articulate it. And we don't covertly learn that. People don't sit us down and say, this is how you love yourself, or this is how you set a boundary. And that can be hard for women. It can be really hard, and for men. But I work with women. And I think you can be taught that. And I think if you're teachable and you want to learn, then there are ways to learn. And on my channel, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll see cards come up on the screen telling you some of the things that I do. My Heartbreak to Healing playlist has a lot of information about what to do directly after relationship ends. The affair playlist talks about all the different kinds of affairs, why people have affairs, and what to do post-affair. So if you're looking for information like that, they're here. We also are going to be adding memberships to the YouTube channel soon. We're going to be adding my shop to the YouTube channel soon. So there will be places here where you can grab hold of things quite quickly that you need. If you say, I want to learn how to set a boundary, you may be able to find something on that. If you're struggling with, how the heck do I talk to my child now that my relationship has ended? Or what do I do when I feel like I can't cope with the stress and the sadness? All of those things we'll have on here. In addition to that, there are hundreds of videos that you can watch. If you ever get stuck when you're on my channel and you can't find something, or you're looking for something specific, hit me up in the comments. Just write in the comment what you want, and I will try and find it for you and let you know where it is. All right, next question. And hello to Louise. Hello, darling. Kathy, I recently retired and I'm now adjusting to being at home full time. It's a big shift after working for so many years. How do other women usually navigate these kinds of life changes? It's a good question. And I must admit, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I love what I do. I just reduced down what I do work-wise. But retiring for a lot of people is about you spent your entire working life busting yourself doing a job with this gorgeous goal at the end of, I can slow down and do all the things that I really want to do. But it is a big adjustment if you have had a routine. When our routine is gone, a routine of Monday through Friday, or whatever days you work, from 9 to 5 or 10 till 3 or whatever it is, that you've had that. You get out of bed, you get a shower, you get your breakfast, you get in the car, you go to where you're going, you spend your day, you finish your day, you come home. When we don't have that routine, our life can feel really a bit disjointed. Humans really like to have predictability in their day. So one of the best things to do is to start to think about, okay, well, what am I wanting to do with my life? Do I want to volunteer? Do I want to build a garden? Do I want to do something creative? Or do I want to make pottery? Do I want to join a movement of some sort? Maybe you're into keeping the environment clean or something like that. And then looking at, okay, well, if I was to incorporate that in my life, how much would I like that in my life? When I talk to my ladies, my members, I talk about your life is a pizza. If you imagine it's a pizza, it might have 8 slices, it might have 26, depending on how big your pizza is. But if you imagine each slice of your life is a slice of pizza, so maybe 3 of those pieces are family. Maybe 2 of those pieces are taking care of your adult parents. Maybe 3 of those pieces are being in a very specific hobby that you really love. Maybe you, like I said, maybe you want to learn how to do pottery, or you want to go join your local, clean up Australia, because that's where we are, Clean Up Australia group, or something like that, and allocate the time to it. Maybe you want to go back to school and learn something. So you have your pieces, and look at getting a balance, social, emotional, physical, financial, all of the different aspects of life, and going, am I meeting all of that criteria? Because for many people, when they retire, life kind of just sort of meanders. And so they can get to a point where they go, I don't know where I'm at anymore. And it can get monotonous and boring very quick. So it's a good idea to sit down and actually plan it out. Sit down with a sheet of paper, think about all the things, plan them out, and then gradually start to implement different changes. Like, don't try and do it all at once, because that's too much, but gently, just making one change at a time. We're going, okay, well, maybe the first step is getting on the internet and finding local groups. Maybe it is about watching some YouTube videos about how to do pottery, or to do a specific kind of artistic thing you're keen on. Or maybe you decided you want to learn an instrument, so you find in your local in online groups where people will teach you how to play an instrument if that's what you're looking at. And the next step then is maybe contacting them and finding out more information. And then the next step is maybe going to one event and just checking it out and seeing how you feel about it. So yeah, the transition is a very gentle one, from just gently bringing things in. And of course, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs. Ladies, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs. So if you find, you've tried something, you're like, that didn't work, I didn't like that, that was rubbish, then don't give up. Do something else. Like, that's the joy, right, of being free to do whatever you want, is that you can try anything you like. All right, don't forget, ladies, hit the subscribe button. People need to subscribe to my channel. Well, I don't need to, but I'd really like them to. If you hit the little bell to it will tell you when I'm coming live. And usually on my screens, there are end screens and cards and things that tell you, hey, watch this video, or this would be good for you, or hey, here's a playlist that you might like. I'm getting used to YouTube. I'm still very new at it, and I'm learning. I've been on Facebook for the last nearly 2 decades, and I moved across here, and so I have to understand and learn about this a little bit. So it's a little clumsy just at the minute, but it's getting better, which is great. And I appreciate you all being here. When you comment on these videos, when you like them or dislike them even, I found out that you can actually give me a thumbs down. It's still okay. It doesn't harm anything. It doesn't harm anything if you don't like what I'm saying. But it's really helpful. It will grow my channel, and I'm really excited. In March I made a deliberate choice to start to be on YouTube more, and and since then I've grown my subscribers to 1,445, which is really exciting. And I've managed to open up some of the great things that YouTube avails to creators, like memberships and a shop and all sorts of little bits and pieces. So it's exciting for me to start to build out this platform where I can do more work with more people. So yeah, if you're interested in the work that I do, like I said, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and yeah, if you have any questions, pop them into the comments of the videos. I read them all, and I try and answer every single one of them. All right, let's see what's going on. YouTube is great. Yeah, I really like YouTube too, Rachel. I think it's a really nice platform. I think there's a lot less noise here, which I find really helpful. All right, next question. I'm often really hard on myself, especially when I'm trying to break old habits. I get angry and frustrated with myself, and there's a setback. How can I better navigate these bumps in the road? And I think for many of us, if we don't feel worthy enough, lovable enough, if we have this sense inside of us that we just kind of don't deserve that, or we're not worthy of that, then what can happen is when we try to change habits that we've had for a long time, and we fail, which is normal, by the way. It is so normal for us to make mistakes. It's so normal for us to have to try repeatedly to change behavior, or to change the way we think, even to change the way we feel. It can take a fair bit of time. And so we've got to be very compassionate and kind to ourselves, reminding ourselves, that if we were talking to a 4-year-old child who was trying to learn to ride a bike, we wouldn't be giving them a hard time going, oh God, you haven't learned how to do it yet. What's wrong with you? God, you're so lazy. You're so dumb. We wouldn't do that. What we would do is encourage. We'd say, gosh, it's really good that you are trying this. And yeah, I understand that you fell off and that's really uncomfortable. And let's have a look and see if we can put something on your knee and let's get back on the bike again. Because that's kind of how you change behavior, right? You can't be mean to yourself expecting that you will end up loving yourself. You have to love all of the parts of you, all of the dark bits, the scary bits, the bits that might be angry or frustrated or shy or resentful or whatever, the parts of you that you go, I don't like that about myself. But we love those parts more because they need more love. You can't grow and do things better if you are being mean to yourself. So loving the parts of yourself that you find really hard to love is really important. Reminding yourself, I'm trying, I'm showing up, I'm doing the work. That's more than not doing it. And that's important. People can sit and criticize all they want, but they may be just sitting there doing nothing with their lives. At least you're trying. And I think reminding yourself, I'm trying. And yeah, there's setbacks, and setbacks are challenging, but they're to be expected. They're to be expected. And then we pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off and go, okay, what's the very next right step for me? What is the very next right thing I need to do to take care of myself right now? So I think that is really important. All right, how are we going for time? We're not too bad. If anybody has a question, pop it in. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I do live Q&As on Thursdays my time. So it's either Thursday morning my time at around 8 a.m. or it's Thursday evening, currently my time around 4:30 p.m. and I'm in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales. However, I may change those times a little to see what suits people, because I want to be able to do a live event every single week, and I want to make sure that the most people possible can get to see it live. It is available on replay, but if you want to come live and you have specific questions you want me to answer, then I want to make sure that people can come to those times. So I'll work on the times to make sure. But if you're ever wondering, just pop onto my page. Usually by Monday or Tuesday, I've got the time set up and everything is there, so you can get the notification. It will tell you if you're subscribed and notified and you haven't hit the notification bell. It'll tell you when I'm going to do a live as soon as it comes up on YouTube. All right. All right. And it looks like we don't have a lot of questions today. So if we don't, I'm just checking the time. If we don't, I can finish up a bit earlier. But if there are questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. All right, here we go. I have a habit of saying the worst possible thing at the wrong time. How can I better manage those moments when my filter drops? I love that. I could do that too. That's something I'm very good at. So I think what's really important is, again, number one, being kind to yourself, and number two, slowing down. So oftentimes when we're saying things, if we're talking before we've really thought about what am I going to say here and why am I saying it, which is also really important. Like, why am I saying this right now? And just sitting down and thinking, what's the reason for my saying this? What am I trying to do? Some of us say things because we're shy and uncomfortable and we're just trying to create conversation. Some of us say things because we don't have a good filter and we say things like that come out of our minds and we go, gosh, I haven't said that. Usually again from maybe feeling a bit uncomfortable or maybe trying to make a joke and it not landing really well. So it's important to ask yourself before you start talking, like, do a couple of deep breaths and just check in with yourself. You know, what am I trying to say and why? Is it because I'm uncomfortable and I want to fill up the space? Is it because I want people to like me and I'm hoping that if I join in the conversation, they'll find me interesting? Is it that, you know, this is the way my family did it? I know some families where, being hypercritical of each other was seen as being really funny, where people would laugh at each other in the most awful ways and say terrible things to each other. And the whole family would fall apart laughing. And I would just think, gosh, that would not be good for me. I would not like that very much at all. But for people in that family, they did that. But imagine then a family member going to another venue where their family isn't, and they start doing the same behavior, maybe making fun of somebody or criticizing somebody as a joke, and then going, oh, nobody's laughing, that's not good. So it's important to stop and think, what's the purpose of what I'm going to say? Am I trying to connect with this person? Am I trying to be understood by this person? Am I trying to be funny with this person? Like, what am I trying to do? And then think, will this land or not? And if you struggle with it, really slow down a little bit. Like, really take a bit of extra time to think about, okay, what do I want to say? And if you have a lot of anxiety or you get really worried in social settings, which some people do, my suggestion is to have a couple of lines that you have available at any given moment. So you might say, oh, a person might say to you, I used to live in X place, wherever that was, maybe I lived in the US or Canada or New Zealand, or I lived in Newcastle or wherever. And so you might have, as soon as they mention it, you say, oh gosh, I've heard of that place. Can you tell me a bit more about it? Or, oh, I really want to visit there. What are some of the best places to go and see? You can have a couple of lines ready to go so that that person can just share more information. The person feels good because they're sharing more information. You feel good because they're engaging with you and they're more likely to ask you a question. So that's one. You could also, make the really basic things that people say, gosh, the weather's been shocking. You can't really go wrong with a weather comment, wow, hasn't it been gorgeous weather? Oh, hasn't it been terrible weather? Oh, it's been so windy just recently. Wow, it's been really, really sunny just recently. Gosh, the rain's been here for days. So there's a lot of basic things you can put in with there. Things to avoid, anything that's really deeply personal. You have to be a bit careful because you can upset people when you get into really personal topics. As we all know, you can get into a lot of trouble online these days, depending on certain topics. So you've got to be a bit careful with that. All right. Okay, I'm going to go for about another 5 minutes, maybe, because there are not a lot of questions. Kathy's given me some from obviously the group or from one of the groups. So I'll do a couple more of these, but unless somebody has a question, I'll hop off soon. So the next question I have is, how do people get clarity on what their values are when there are so many? It can feel so overwhelming trying to get clarity on my top values. I do a little values thing with people. You can go online and just get a list of values. I actually have a list that I give my members, and you can go from a big list because sometimes it is overwhelming, right? It's like, well, what are the values? What are my values? How do I even know what my values are? But if you have a list with a lot of values written on them, then you can Google that and you'll get a list of values. Or if you're in my membership, you can go onto my membership site. I think there is a values workshop. And from that list, you start to look at, okay, which values really matter to me? So what I suggest to people is look at the list and pick 10, right? Just pick 10 that you think these 10 are important values. From there, what you want to look at is, okay, if I had to now put these into, my top 5, which 5 would I choose? So you get to your top 5. And from there, you can kind of go, okay, well, how does that manifest in my life? So some of my values. Honesty is a really important value to me. So I like the people who are very close to me to be as honest with me as possible. So my kids, my partner, people who do work for me or with me, like that really matters to me that they're honest. I know sometimes with my clients, they're very dishonest, and I don't mind that because my values are very different. In my job, I'm there to help people in a very different kind of way. So I don't mind if people are dishonest with me when I'm working. I do mind if it's people up close to me. So honesty is a big value for me. Another value for me is family and that connection. So, when that manifests in my life, it's about being present for, I went and saw my daughter yesterday, and it was really lovely. We managed to have lunch and dinner together, even though she was really busy. That connection matters to me. Likewise, we try and help our kids with different things. Our kids try and help us with different things. So that connection really matters with me. So we prioritize time with family. You might have values around your health and well-being. You might want to be really healthy, and that might mean you eat certain foods or don't eat certain foods. It might mean that you exercise in specific ways. Some people might do triathlons, others might do yoga and stretching. But if health is something where you go, kind of, that's really important to me, then you start to look, okay, what am I doing to move me towards my values? And I think when we do values work, that's the important thing, right? Does what I'm currently doing align with my values or not? And we get a lot of tension when they're not aligned. So if we're doing something and it's against our values, that can feel really uncomfortable for us. But when we do things and they're aligned to our values, then that can feel really nice. So, looking at and thinking about, and there's also like I said, an hierarchy of values as well. Like I said, with my family, honesty is right up here, but with my children, and not with my children, with my clients rather, the bar is much lower because I know those people are coming to talk to me about some of the most painful things in their life, some of the most difficult things in their life, and they may not feel comfortable doing that initially, and they may not want to because they may wonder how I'm going to judge them, and so they don't always share everything straight away, and that's perfectly fine with me. So it can change depending on who you're with and what you're doing. I hope that was helpful. All right, so ladies, I think we're going to call it a day. I'm just going to give you a bit of information if you like it. If you're in my membership, I will see you for the coaching call soon. Not soon today, but in the next couple of days. If you are new to my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you know when I'm live. I'd love you to come and just explore my YouTube channel, have a look at it. There is a lot of information here. My name is Debbie Carberry. I am a relationship coach based in Australia. I have a membership program called Rewrite Your Relationship Story, where I help women from around the world really learn to love themselves and really learn how to move forward after a long-term relationship has ended. So yeah, I'm also a mama. I've got 4 kids, 4 grown-up kids, and I'm partnered. I'm not married, but I'm partnered. So yeah, I come, you know, when I come to this channel, I try and come as myself, uniquely as who I am. I also have poetry on this YouTube channel that is on one of my playlists, so you can have a look at the poetry that I've written. And I talk it, I speak it, and you can read the words as well. But I quite like that for creativity. I enjoy doing that. And there is a rumor that I'll be doing some gardening stuff and some cooking things too, because that's something that I'm really passionate about. I like growing a lot of really healthy organic food, and I love preparing it and preserving it and looking after it so I can get the most out of it. So if you're interested in any of those things, they'll be coming up in the coming days as well. And thank you so much for coming and joining me. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really do appreciate that. I'll be back next Thursday at 8 a.m. my time. If you ever don't know what that is, again, when I put the videos up, the time should come up in your time zone. And of course, if you have the notification button, it'll tell you when I'm live, which makes it really easy. All right, my darling ones, take the very best care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, everyone. And I forgot. And then I was like, I can't remember where the end button is. I found it. It's all right. All right. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye.